Now, as Kate mentioned, we are extremely fortunate this morning to have the Honourable Nicola Grigg, Associate Minister of Agriculture, with the specific responsibility for horticulture to deliver our opening address. Now, she's also MP for Selwyn, Associate Minister for ACC, Minister of State for Trade and Investment, and as Kate mentioned, Minister for Women. As a champion for primary industries in Parliament, the Minister is also leading initiatives to support growers and exporters and is incredibly passionate about the sector. It's gotten to the point where we actually joke that if anything happened to Nicola en route to deliver one of these speeches, I could easily step in because I've heard her speak that much, because she fronts up at so many industry events and her passion is extremely evident. Ladies and gentlemen, to open our conferences, please welcome to the stage the Honourable Nicola Grigg.
I feel like you're probably all sick of the sight of me now. Hey, look, good morning, everyone. Thank you very, very much for having me here today, particularly Kate. Thank you to you and your team for the invitation to be here. It is really cool to be a minister with a dedicated responsibility for horticulture. It's the first time a government's actually done that, and the reason the Prime Minister decided to do that is because we recognise the growth and indeed the potential growth that you're all going to achieve, and we really do want to get behind the horticulture sector and back you all the way, because this is an exciting time to be in your industry. Look, as has been acknowledged already, the theme of this year's conference is celebrating horticulture. So I want to stand up here today and celebrate you as growers, each and every one of you across the country. You are doing the hard graft, and I do want to congratulate you for all of the contributions that you have made to those amazing export results that we've seen. The period ended June this year. The numbers are still to be confirmed, but it is looking like growth is at around 19% export revenue to the tune of about $8.5 billion. Horticulture is one of the fastest growing sectors across agriculture, and I think to myself, if the New Zealand economy could be growing at 19%, wouldn't we be the envy of the world? Mark Piper, that's on you. I've just seen you in the crowd. But of course, there are the different sector groups in and amongst that make up those numbers. So hats off to all of you kiwi fruit growers. Thank you for leading the charge. Revenue looking at just under $4 billion. That is incredible. Apples, of course, you've gone over $1 billion for the first time ever. Veggie exports 8%. That's really strong. But across the board, projections are growing. So again, really, really exciting time to be in your sector. You are significant contributors to our national economy. So well done on your efforts, and a very heartfelt and genuine thank you. For those of you in the room from the Nelson Tasman region, just want to acknowledge you. I've been in the region a couple of times now. I've seen firsthand the damage that's been done. I know what you're dealing with. I know it is a really challenging time for you, and cleanups are just mind-breaking and heartbreaking and really, really hard graft. But I just want you to know the government has tipped in $600,000, so there is available support to you. Please, if you do need some help, please don't be a hero. Reach out to your MPI local contacts, your RST local contacts. There is money in the Mayoral Relief Fund. We really don't want you to feel like you're doing it on your own. We are there behind you. But times are changing, things are looking up. According to my calendar, there is just under 1 week left to go of this winter. It has been a long, cold, dark, wet winter. Spring is on its way, so we are looking forward to an abundant bud burst across those orchards across the country. But I do want to take my time here in front of you this morning as an opportunity to consider the future. And I'm sure that many of you will have heard of or have indeed been involved in the horticulture industry's action plan, and if you haven't, please do get involved, because we do believe that the more buy-in across the industry is going to mean better results. Now, in government, we do see a lot of strategies being launched. They get launched with great fanfare and a big PR, and sometimes a camera will turn up. Oftentimes they then get shelved, never to see the light of day again. So I put a challenge to you today. I have very, very high expectations of all of you in this room, and I want to see this strategy eventuate. But in essence, for those who haven't yet read it, it is an action plan. It aims to double your revenue by 2035. That is an ambitious target, it is a lofty goal, but it also just so happens to align with the government's own goal of doubling the value of our exports in the next decade. So we really do genuinely want you to see this, bring it into fruition. But the reason that we are so focused on growth is because we know that that means that you will have more means to invest, whether that is in upgrading parts of your business, investing in staff or accessing new technologies. You've got to be investing, you've got to be growing to remain competitive. And the action plan, of course, isn't just for the big guys, the large players. It is something that horticulture groups across the sector can get involved in. And there is great power in coming together and moving in the same direction together. But what is necessary is turning those big goals, those objectives, into deliverables. And you'll hear the Prime Minister talk very regularly about our own quarterly action plans. They are deliverables. Each and every one of us are held accountable for those. They really do work. So I really am excited to have the privilege, Kate's asked me to do it, to announce that the Horticultural Implementation Roadmap is up, it is live, and it is going to shift that action plan from just ambition to actual delivery. There are some real significant milestones in it, so I do want to congratulate you all on achieving those already. But it's a roadmap with a range of actions across the Quad partners, and those Quad partners are, of course, you as industry, us as government, the research providers, and Māori businesses to tackle the opportunities and indeed the challenges that are ahead of you. So the first phase of it targets about 52 actions over the next 3 years, and we consider those to be most critical. And while government, we certainly do have a role to play in it being successful, I do want to be really clear, it is on you. It is on you to make this a success. And it does go without saying, it's going to need engagement, it's going to need collaboration from everybody to get involved. But we, of course, do have our role to play, and we do genuinely stand ready to support you. It is our job to get the regulations right, it is our job to support your market access, and it's our job to address the workforce issues. So we're doing what we can over the road, over in the beehive, but to achieve those big targets, we've all got to come at this thing together. So I do put another challenge out to you, come at it together, let's see it through. We've got to continue to walk alongside each other. We've got to take charge of our 21 actions of those 52. It is going to take time and effort, but you know what? We can achieve it if we do really, really lean into it together. So I do want to just take a bit of time to trot you through all of the work that we're doing over the road, and particularly around the regulatory perspective. We are, and we have since day one coming into government, we've been absolutely determined to pull out all of those roadblocks, all of those regulatory burdens that we heard so much about over the recent years. And a big part of it, probably the biggest part of it, is reforming that broken RMA system, our old foe, the RMA. But, you know, we want our regulatory settings to have a default of yes rather than no. We want it to come from a standpoint of when you issue a consent, it's all about the benefits as opposed to the negatives. We're going to say yes to building, yes to technology, yes to property rights. So as a part of that work, we've been really careful to engage very, very deeply with community, with society, with various different sector groups. So we have consulted on a range of proposals and ideas that are going to streamline or remove the regulations that have been hindering growth. So we want to make sure that the settings that we put in place are genuinely going to improve efficiency. So there's a whole suite of new proposals across the whole RMA system. We did just complete the first round of consultation last month, and I know a lot of the sector group representatives here today have had an input, particularly Horticulture NZ has had an input, and I do thank you for those submissions. It's really important for us to create legislation that is enduring, that is sustainable. It's really important that we get the grassroots input from the outset so that we know it is going to work in terms of the practical application on the ground. Otherwise, in my view, what we saw in recent years, there wasn't the consultation, there wasn't the deep engagement, therefore the rules and regs just did not work. So we want to make sure it's fit for purpose and it's practical and it's enduring. We're also updating a bunch of national directions, and I think of most interest to you will be particularly around water storage and access to water. We know water is I'd say, the most important tool we have to support fruit and vegetable growing and indeed continued growth going into the future. There's also a proposal to create what we're calling SAAs, or special agricultural areas, around those key horticulture hubs like Pukekohe and Horowhenua, and that is intended to protect the land use class 1, 2 and 3 land where it's grouped together in natural configurations. You know, as a government, we've really got to strike that balance, and it is a hard one to achieve, but we're determined to get it. We've got to be able to enable housing supply, but of course we must protect that special elite soil for food production. Another priority is to make sure that you've got access to the new and emerging chemicals and agri-chemicals, and make sure that there are smooth and efficient pathways to test and use those new products. We all know that there are companies looking to pull out of this market. That's why we're trying to make their access to this market easier, so that you have a wider variety of choice. So we've reviewed those regulations that were governing access to those chemicals. There are a whole lot of improvements already in place, already in train. The EPA is currently developing a prioritisation framework to help identify those applications that are going to have the biggest impact up front, and particularly in protecting environment and health and safety in communities and economy, but of course are going to make your production smoother and easier and of course bigger. So they have actually already had a few wins, which is really great to see. They've reduced the queue of applications by over 20% already since July last year. They've approved 62 hazardous substances. That's actually the highest number in the past 5 years. I know there's more work to do. I get it every single time I visit a grower, but we are getting there. Please have faith. Please just give us a bit more time. We will get there. I want to touch on gene tech and gene technology reform. It is our view that to support growth across our primary industries, we have to enable and we have to embrace new and emerging technologies. But we appreciate it must be balanced. So we are intending to update New Zealand's gene tech rules. They have not been looked at in 30 years. We believe that it is one of the suite of tools that are going to be made available that is going to help our sector adapt to the challenges of climate change and indeed environment. And we do believe that it is the best opportunity to enable long-term climate resilience, particularly in access and development of new varieties. We believe it's going to open up new economic opportunities by delivering the new cultivars that produce the fruits and the vegetables that consumers want. And we do believe also it's going to speed things up faster than traditional breeding techniques. But I am very aware of the split views that are out there, the diverging views that are out there. And I absolutely agree that we do need to be cautious with this. We do need to protect both our domestic and our export markets. So from Parliament, we have taken those concerns really seriously. The Health Select Committee that's been considering this has delayed its report back not once, but now twice. It is taking those 15,000 submissions really seriously. Dr. Shane Retty, who is leading it, has been on planes and offshore several times. He's been in market, particularly in Australia, visiting growers up there. He's very determined that we're going to create a framework where both organic growers and more traditional growers who want to use and uptake those new technologies can coexist without disrupting one another's environments or disrupting one another's markets. So please be assured we are very determined to get this right. And whether it is access to technology or land use policy, we are taking a system-wide approach to our reforms. We are making sure there is no stone left unturned, but I'm sure if there is one, you will tell me about it, and I do welcome that. Of course, this sector relies very, very heavily on labour, and I know you're going to hear from my good friend and colleague Erica Stanford later on, who is the Minister in charge of immigration and indeed the RSE scheme changes. We know that the system isn't perfect. We are determined to improve it as much as we can, and I do want to thank any of the RSE workers here in the room for coming to our shores, for taking a bet on us. Our success is very much due to your success, and you have all become a really integral part of our communities. You are also going to hear from my boss, Todd McClay, on all things trade, which does continue to be a really, really critical part of the government's work program to grow our economy. There are incredible opportunities out there, particularly for horticulturalists to take advantage of, whether that's through our new or existing FTA network. There are so many opportunities that we're working really, really hard on. Over the last 12 months, I've had a real privilege in getting to know your industry. I am a sheep and beef farmer's daughter, and when the PM rang me about 18 months ago and said, making you associate ag and you've got the delegation of hort, I was like, what? But I have learned a lot. Thank you to you and your generosity for educating this very naive first-time minister. But I've been attending your conferences, the field days, I've been visiting the orchards and the growers, and I've been meeting with the industry representatives. And it's really helped me to get a really, really good understanding and appreciation of the work that you do, but of course the challenges that are there and that do still remain across the entire supply chain. And what is really clear to me as a sector, you have some fantastic, passionate leaders, and there's so many innovators coming up with world-leading ideas. It is so important going forward that we continue to maintain our reputation as having environmental standards that are world-leading, and I suppose for those in the protein space, for animal welfare standards that are world-leading. As I've said before, the government has your back. We are working at pace to help build the foundations for horticulture to flourish. But, please be confident that we're listening and we are acting on what matters most to you. Because, of course, when Agriculture Inc. does well, New Zealand does well. And so many times through our history, be it during the GFC, even if you go as far back as World Wars, the pandemic more recently, it is agriculture that's lent and rebuilt our economy at time when it has needed to be. So, look, huge congratulations on that $8.5 billion. That really is incredible. Please do have a read through that implementation action plan. We really want to see this thing come to life. Thank you very much for having me here today, and I'll look forward to catching up with a few of you over the morning tea break.